I've got one that can see.
Logic before authority.
Fool me one, fool me one, fool me one. Shame on, shame on, shame on you, shame on you, shame on you. Fool me, can't get fooled again, 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 can't get fooled again.
The thickness of marine debris lying on top of the submerged landslide would help calculate when the disaster took place.
Think of it like dust on an old piano. It accumulates, and you can figure out how long the piano's been there because it's got so much dust on it, right? And you can do the same thing with these big lenses.
Fool me one, fool me one.
I will show you. This is La Palma, one of the Canary Islands, a paradise for sun-loving tourists. For us, the island holds quite another fascination, the Cumbre Vieja volcano. The brittle western slope of the volcano is covered in clefts and fissures where water has collected. And now for the interesting part. By placing several bombs in carefully calculated spots, we can use thermonuclear explosions to heat that water so that it will evaporate instantaneously. If you had paid attention in your physics classes, you would know that such a sudden evaporation of water would create sufficient pressure to shatter the volcano's brittle slope and send it crashing into the sea. Can you guess what comes next? That's right, a tsunami. Waves 200 meters high will charge across the Atlantic with the speed of an airplane. The tsunami will sweep across the east coast of the United States. New York will disappear in an apocalyptic flood, taking with it the self-proclaimed rulers of the world who are currently squabbling in blind incompetence at the UN headquarters. The resulting vacuum of power will be filled by our followers, some of whom have been biding their time in key positions for decades. They will take control and lead humankind to a new...
The exact cause of a volcanic flank collapse is still a mystery. It could be gravity simply pulling on the sheer mass of fractured rock, or magma permeating cracks and fissures that push it free. Another answer may lie in one of the most unnatural and inhospitable environments on Earth, the heart of a volcano. Back on La Palma, Simon Day and Steve Ward made their way into the dank recesses of a dormant volcano. Tunnels have been excavated to access reservoirs of fresh water. The sleeping volcano is the island's primary water source. But this life-giving resource may also signal a deadly threat. It's this water that could ultimately push the western flank of the Cumbre Vieja into the ocean, triggering a mega tsunami.
The brittle western slope of the volcano is covered in clefts and fissures where water has collected. And now for the interesting part. By placing several bombs in carefully calculated spots, we can use thermonuclear explosions to heat that water so that it will evaporate instantaneously. If you had paid attention in your physics classes, you would know that such a sudden evaporation of water would create sufficient pressure to shatter the volcano's brittle slope and send it crashing into the sea.
It's this water that could ultimately push the western flank of the Cumbre Vieja into the ocean, triggering a mega tsunami. Cumbre Vieja is saturated with water, capped by thick layers of ash and rock. Lava sheets, or dikes, trap the water from the side like a rocky seal. If this water becomes heated, it could spark a catastrophe.
These dikes within the volcano are trapping water between them. Then another eruption occurs, more magma is coming up through. The magma in the new dike is very hot, 2000 Fahrenheit. So it heats the water. If the water was able to escape, it would just flash to steam. But of course it's trapped between the dikes. So it's like the water is in a pressure cooker. You heat the water, the pressure goes up. And it's that extra pressure pushing on the rocks to either side that we think is going to be the cause of the flank of the volcano eventually collapsing in some future eruption.
Very porous material, there's lots of water in there, and so when the dike comes in, heats it up, there's a big pressurization.
Pressurized water could be the catalyst for the landslip that creates a mega tsunami. And La Palma's ancient Cumbre Vieja volcano may be already on the move.
So if you're following the story so far, the story that they're presenting us is that it will be based on superheating of steam that will cause the collapse. They are showing us in predictive programming, as you can see. That was from a video game that I pulled those clips out of, and then a BBC documentary that I pulled those clips out of. I've got a lot more information that I've pulled together kind of urgently on this subject. Kind of put my other video on the back burner for just a moment. It's important, but it's not as timely, you might say. What we're looking at here is we're looking at the institute, the National Institute, that is doing all the tracking. It has the devices on the ground that are GPS monitors that monitor rise and fall of any area on the island, such as these areas, the ones that are in red, are currently active. This area right here is the area we're going to look at, which are these charts right over here. We're going to look for rise or fall. Right here is when the earthquake erupted, that red line. Okay, I'll zoom in here a little bit more for you. Okay, so that's where it erupted. They've seen it started rising, so the island started rising, and or at least this section of the island right here, which is the area depicted in the video game animation. This is the area that was depicted that was going to go in the sea, wasn't it? Yep. And this is the area that the scientists claim is going to go into the sea, right? Now, are we seeing rise? We've certainly seen a lot of rise. Since it has erupted, we've had rise and fall and rise and fall and rise and fall and a little bit higher rise and then fall. And then the other day we had a big rise, as you noticed right here. Now, all these charts are great, but what does it mean exactly? Well, these charts are in millimeters, okay? So if we want to know how high it has risen since it's low when it was not erupting, we can look and see here. We can convert that to 360 millimeters to 14.17 inches. So the ground that people are living on in this area has risen a foot. Over a foot, 14.17 inches. And it is dropping backwards and forth the distance of, let's see here. So it's dropping backwards and forth the distance of about 200 millimeters every day or so. So let's type in 200 here. So the ground is breathing up and down over a half a foot, 7.87 inches daily, or give or take. As you can see, this chart is not exactly up and down, but it has risen up that far in just the last couple of days. And then in between, it's a little less than that. You know, you're probably talking about every day it's going up and down a few inches at least. And it has, in one day, went up 7.87 inches, with actually a total of over a foot since it started. And it's maintaining itself at about a height of, or growth of, from it being stable without eruption. So looking at the chart here, we're seeing 160 plus the 40 here, because it started out right in this area and rose from there. So around the 160 to 200 area is where it's maintaining at, except for this big rise that one day. So therefore, we're still talking about 200 millimeters that it's maintaining at, with the rise and fall of up to also 200 millimeters on a given day. So I wanted to bring a little bit of logic to this situation as to what might be actually going on. Do I think that they're manipulating this volcano? Yeah, there's a very, very high likelihood of it. I have, as you can see here, all these tabs open up that are reference to information about what's going on there, okay? And I've got a lot that I'm studying. Just so you're aware, the earthquakes on these on this island are triangulated, and they are, like with this map here, how they're all showing up stacked on top of each other in a grid. Well, one thing you need to notice is that the grid is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tall. How wide is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wide. Yep. You got a 6 by 6 cube grid. And why do I say cube grid? It's because of, well, let me show you. This animation here was done showing the island, and then they're going to go and show you down in depth under the island. As you can see, the island's up here, and this is going down underground. And what you're going to notice, well, you'll see here in a second. It's populating the earthquakes. Notice anything yet? Notice anything yet? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 levels. The earthquakes. And if I go ahead and bring this on down here towards the end, there we go. The earthquakes are not only happening in a grid vertically, they're also horizontally. So it is a cube. It is a 6 by 6 cube that of energy that is being projected into the ground. That ultimately is going to, and Lord, let's just say I hope that I am wrong and that these guys are not up to doing this, okay? But I've got so much more evidence that I just don't have quite put together yet that I'm going to bring to you on this subject. That all leads me, when I look at all of it, some of it I haven't even presented to you yet, but when I look at all of it, it says to me that these guys, they might be up to doing this, okay? Because we know what's right down in here in the island, okay? We know what's down here, okay? It's a lot of fractures with a lot of water in it. And when that water gets superheated, what happens? So when you're looking at the volcano and it's erupting, let me show you a live feed. Okay, we're looking at it here. It is, as you can still see, very, very, very angry. In the daytime when you're watching it, you'll notice a lot of white smoke. The more white smoke that we see coming up from the ground, it's bad news, okay? I'm going to put that chart that shows the rise and fall, I'll put it in a link down below, so that y'all guys, that if that information is true and those measurements are accurate and they're not monkeying around with it, we can use that to see the ground swelling. Because the swell will happen. It's like a pressure cooker where it gets more and more pressure and the ground's going to rise more. And when it comes to the point that the weight of the ground cannot hold back the pressure that's beneath it, it will be like a pressure cooker blowing up. Boom. And when that happens, well, let's just pray that never happens and that we're just all crazy, okay? Because if that happens, it would be a bad day for everybody that lives on that island and probably all the islands around it. But do these guys want this to happen? It sure looks like it. They're predicting it. They're putting it in video games. And they're putting it, it's in The Simpsons as well. And I'm going to show you that probably in the next video. Yeah. Simpsons predicted it as well. It's not on YouTube, or at least you're not going to be able to find the full thing of it, but or the full understanding of it, but I'll have that together. I'll show it to you. But I wanted to bring some logic before authority into this kind of situation so we get a little bit better grasp as to maybe what the situation really is. So there we have it. Guys, I'm working all the time on this stuff, 24 hours, well, it feels like 24 hours a day, definitely 7 days a week. And I continue to need y'all guys' support. As many of you know, I've hired an assistant that's working in the background, doing a lot of work, but she's not free. And it's costing me a good bit, and I need y'all guys' support. So don't forget me. And I'll keep the truth coming and keep the logic coming. And I got some wonderful things to show y'all guys, but I'm still working on my big video that I will be releasing as soon as I get a chance to finish it. I promise. I'll put the links to all the different ways you can support my work in my channel down below. I do this full time, 7 days a week, have for over a decade, and I've had my channel terminated. This is my 4th channel now. And drop me back down to 0, and I build it back, drop me back down to 0. That's okay. I don't quit. But I do need y'all guys' support because my channel is not monetized. And the only way that I can survive and make a living and keep going on and doing this is, well, the agreement I made with y'all guys several years ago. I'll keep going if you will. I love you. Our Father in heaven loves you. And we're going to keep seeking the truth. Have a good night, guys. I'll be back real soon.
I've got one that can see.
Logic before authority.